Imagine watching the Olympics, being asked which country you'd support, and finding yourself not with a quick answer, but lost in thought. Do you say the country you were born in, the country on your passport, or the country you grew up in? I'll give you a second to think about it. This is the life of a third culture kid, or TCK, a term that refers to people who grew up in multiple cultural environments, often because their parents' work took them overseas. Whether their parents are international business people, military personnel, first aid workers, or even teachers. These kids straddle between multiple cultures. They belong everywhere, but come from nowhere. So personally, I'm a third culture kid. Growing up in Australia with Chinese parents, I remember my grandparents calling me "fan na" in Taiwanese. "Fan na" has two meanings. One is foreigner. The other is a foreigner who's ridiculous or absurd. That's your little "fan na" up there. Your "fan na" getting chased by pelicans. And your "fan na" getting fired as an atomic bomb. That's probably World War III. So there are currently 220 million TCKs worldwide. Some popular examples include Barack Obama, Kamala Harris, Kofi Annan, the previous UN Secretary General, and Freddie Mercury, the lead singer of Queen. Seeing all these successful examples of TCKs, what I think catalyzed our successes is that we have this incredible toolkit of belonging everywhere. And to describe this phenomenon, I'll use the Chinese idiom, 四海为家, literally meaning that you are home to the four seas, implicitly meaning that you can feel home anywhere. And to me, it's not only the ability to say hello in multiple languages, but it's to understand that there's no singular right way to greet somebody. And this flexibility breeds empathy. We've lived in communities that pray in mosques, in cathedrals, in temples. We understand the importance of cultural identity and community. And for us, diversity isn't a buzzword. It's been rooted in our experiences from a young age. And it's not just diversity of culture, but diversity of perspective. A TCK might attend an American school in Tokyo, hang out with friends from Ghana, India, or Sweden, and go back to a home that celebrates holidays very differently to their peers. Leading back to what I spoke about "fan na", the foreigner doing ridiculous things, I was quite sad back then when I was the only person in the family being called "fan na", since I didn't really have a choice in whether I want to be a TCK or not, or whether my family were to immigrate to Australia. And I call this the sense of belonging nowhere. For us as TCKs, I think the biggest challenge we have is teachers pronouncing our names. So the name on my passport is Wei Hui Chen, and that's how you pronounce it correctly, Wei Hui Chen. On roll calls, I've got Wen Hua, I've got Wei Hu, I've got Wei Ho. And the countless attempts teachers make it even worse. It's so awkward. I've tried really hard to avoid this awkwardness. So first I've asked teachers to use my English name, Lily, call me Lily. But some teachers go like, "No, I can't do that. That's disrespectful. I have to respect your culture. Let me try again." Okay, so that didn't work. I've concluded with this shortcut that I'm going to share with you guys. If you guys also have names that are difficult to pronounce, you could use this as well. So when teachers pronounce my name, whether it's Wenhua wee hoo, wei wo, whatever. When they go like, "Hey Lily, did I pronounce it right?" "Yes, sir, you did." The Chinese people in my class might laugh, but trust me, it's worth it. In the end of 2020, my family moved back to Shanghai due to COVID-19. At that time, Shanghai to me felt both familiar and different. I remember the neighbors and alleyways, but there seems to be an invisible wall separating me from the Chinese locals. I would call this the feeling of belonging nowhere. At that time, I felt like a chameleon, constantly adapting and changing to every environment, but not quite fitting in. It took me about 3 months to eventually settle in and find a school in Shanghai, and I chose Dulwich. Obviously, that's why I'm here. And disclaimers, this is not an ad for Dulwich. I did not get paid. So it was around Christmas when I was doing the school tours, and I got to see all the Christmas decorations in all the international schools in Shanghai. And I'm not being biased, but Dulwich has the best decorations. I met Mrs. King, the head of senior school, and she went like, "How do you know if you like a school if you don't meet the students?" So she took me to our old cafeteria where everyone was wearing cozy Christmas jumpers and sitting together, playing some Christmas Kahoot or trivia I didn't pay attention to. She said something, she wanted me to join, but at that time I was a little scared and timid, I didn't join. But from that one glance, I saw a diverse cohort. And the epiphany for me was the smiles on their faces. They were all so genuinely happy. And this was the sense of belonging I always longed for. This is what I think schools should emphasize. It could be celebrating diverse holidays and traditions, where students organize, take lead, and initiate by sharing their cultures and meshing them together. Potluck lunch was something I organized when I was part of student council. Potluck lunch is basically where every student brings a share of their homemade traditional food to share with their friends. So I've had a taste of Indian curry, pandan rice cakes from Singapore, and spicy Sichuan food. It was great, being a big foodie. But maybe not the spicy Sichuan food, it was a bit too spicy for me. I'd call this the sense of cultural awareness. When eating Vegemite and fairy bread, if you don't know what it is, Vegemite's a spread that you put on bread that has the color of Nutella, but people say it tastes like devil's diarrhea. I like it, but I don't know about you. Fairy bread's just sprinkles on plain toast. And when eating them, I remember my mom packing fairy bread and Vegemite toast for recess in kindergarten when I was in Australia. Those memories are precious to me, and remembering them reminds me of my childhood and culture. It could be as simple as organizing a day for students to dress up in their traditional clothing, or it could be offering diverse language classes where students like me can learn their mother tongue. I think the point is that we as students, we're natural teachers as TCKs, and we should use our power to spread the culture and the puzzle pieces that make up our perspectives and culture. And the main point is to foster pride. Pride in our culture, pride in our perspectives, pride in our identities, and ultimately, pride in our differences. And with this pride, I am confident that we will make a difference in the world. We as TCKs will serve not as bridges or gateways, but highways to a more peaceful and intercultural world. And after my speech, I hope all the teachers here could be more aware of us TCKs. In some schools, there might be fewer TCKs than others, but don't undermine our power to connect, to develop new perspectives, and to give new belongings. And to end, we all have a story, and we all come from somewhere. So from now on, don't ask me where I'm from. Ask me where I'm local. Thank you.